There are obvious reasons why X-Men 97 has been a successful show. It's a sequel to the already successful X-Men the Animated Series, which had a 5-season run in the 90s. So it already had a great and long-standing base. Of course, the fact that we, millennials, are incredibly nostalgia-pilled helps things. At the bare minimum, people were always going to give X-Men 97 a chance and watch. It was a safe bet in many ways. But the reason why you, me, and everyone else can't take our eyes off of our screens through 6 episodes is because artistically, it takes chances. It's weird, it's different. And more than anything, it is at its core a comic book show. And unlike many shows and movies before it, it's not ashamed of that. The fact that Disney took a chance on this is because X-Men 97 is such a safe bet to start. MCU fans love the comfort of knowing what they're getting, and you can see that through the viewership numbers of the Phase 4 shows. The ones that already had established movie stars and or characters like Wanda, Loki, Bucky, or Sam Wilson, all succeeded. Both through my experience as a millennial and knowing other millennials, I can say for certain that we are heavily nostalgia-pilled. We love our childhood memories.
So in honor of the release of X-Men 97, which is excellent, no pun intended, I am going to give you 5 NFL prospects that remind me of X-Men.
And while the DCAU holds a closer place in my heart, the X-Men animated series was my first introduction to mutant kind, and I can't forget it because of that. So this show is absolutely an easy sell to its target audience on the surface. There is no doubt about that. And that matters a lot for its general success. Ultimately, getting you and me to watch the show is simply not enough. If they didn't stay true to the source material of XMAS, or didn't stay true to the silliness of comics or were ashamed of it, this show would fail. Like the original, 97's dialogue is written just like how comic book dialogue used to be written, and how it's written is meant to capture the uniqueness of every character. One moment you have Beast nerding out.
Every moment is a new and shocking valuation of all we have ever been. My friends, words will fail to prepare you.
Or Storm being godlike.
You uncollar Magneto, you!
Well, now who does she think she...
Do not think. Be silent. Heed my commands and you shall survive.
It's all incredibly theatrical, sometimes even over the top, but it all works. And be honest, listening to Allison Seeley Smith deliver this line of Storm, would you have it any other way?
The breeze is gone. I cannot feel it. Nor the moisture, nor the air. What has he done to me?
How else do you capture a person losing the very essence of who they are? Something to ask yourself is, how many shows would try this type of dialogue and delivery nowadays? I think you're probably drawing a blank at the moment because no one is trying this. Because it can feel corny and hard to take seriously. But in this case, it hits all the notes perfectly, and you feel the raw emotions of these characters. Another thing I think many casual viewers need to understand is comic books are soap operas. They're supposed to be highly dramatic with larger-than-life characters doing human things one second or absurd things the next, which is another aspect that this show allows itself to dive into. Every single episode so far has had some type of romance or even full-blown love triangle to create some spicy drama. You have Jubilee and Sunspot with a cute little love story. Then you have a love square? Well, you have Scott and Jean, who is actually a clone, who was just birthed the child of Scott and then has a massive identity crisis and becomes Madeline Pryor. Jean also has an identity crisis because she isn't even sure if she's the real Jean Grey because her memories are also foggy and fragmented. Despite the evidence that she is, in fact, the real Jean Grey, Scott has to lose the love of his life a second time, and then in the very next moment, his just newly born child. This all before he was just the leader of the X-Men, all until his daddy made his mortal enemy Magneto his new leader. Oh, and of course Logan uses his hairy riz to make Jean fall in love with him, as he is so wont to do. But no, of course, Jean, he's the asshole and shouldn't be cut any slack for anything he's gone through. And that's not even mentioning Rogue falling back in love with sassy yoked Magneto and Gambit getting absolutely cucked. Is it dumb? Yes. Is it silly? Yes. Does it make any sense at all? Yes. Because love can be like that. It can be absurd and make people complete and utter assholes, but god damn it if it doesn't make for a divisive plotline. The writing is incredible, but there are other reasons and other stylistic choices that make it the perfect comic book adaptation that it is, and I think the number one reason for that is animation. Like the Spider-Verse movies, like the old DCAU, X-Men 97 once again shows us that animation is so much better for comic book adaptation than live action is. First off, the transition from books to animation versus books to live action is so much more fluid and replicable. The X-Men and mutants come in all different shapes and sizes. Most human beings don't look like them at all. Costume designers are talented and amazing, but they can only do so much, and even now CGI can still look out of place in the real world. You have Beast and Logan's hairy animal-like appearances. I already mentioned Magneto's yoked physique. These Sentinels and Mutendo are massive in size, but also such pure imagination. Also, if we're just being honest, Gambit and Storm's hair looks so cool. But it looks cool because it's animated. Even if you somehow got someone's hair to resemble this, in our world, that looks weird. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is look at the Dragon Ball Z movie. Yeah, I rest my case. All of this can only reach its true peak when your imagination isn't limited by anything. That is what animation offers us above all else. And nothing exemplifies that more than the last part of this video. The main thing that animation always tops live action for, and that is, of course, action. The action scenes in this show are so fucking good. I honestly don't know if there's better analysis for that, but I'm gonna try for you. Live action in general is inherently more limited than animation, but specifically here. For example, in the production process of real-life movies, you don't actually punch a guy. Well, I mean, you could, but you're gonna give your stuntmen and actors brain damage, and that is not okay. Also, they're humans. And this isn't John Wick Impossible Man action, which is awesome and great, but this is super-powered beings doing a bunch of different things. And so whether it's a choreographed punch or a CGI'd laser, it's a process that is being disguised from you. Now, again, that can look good, but more often than not, it doesn't capture these incredible action sequences in their full potential. It's a much longer process that can lead to the Batman Dark Knight Rises fight scenes. Versus animation, where not only is everything cohesive, you can animate way more violence between these superpowered freaks who actually get hit with fists, lasers, shards of glass, and more. Mutants are super very wacky and weird characters with a massive range of powers. It makes sense to not have limitations, whether it be monetary or physical. In episode 5, we have the perfect example of all of this. You have a couple of Omega level mutants fighting for their lives while trying to save every mutant possible as a Sentinel starts going nuclear holocaust on Geonosia. And I am not kidding when I say this. This scene was so high stakes. Every time one of these three or the Sentinel did something, I was jumping out of my seat. I could not believe what I was watching. You watch this play out, and every time you think you've seen all they've got, these guys have another gear to pull off some more crazy shit. Magneto rips apart his environment to destroy the Sentinel like a god. Gambit somehow saves Rogue thousands of feet away from him and then takes it to the Sentinel, only to get stabbed and die. But before you even have time to mourn him and he draw his last breath, Gambit takes the fucking thing with him.
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
It's dynamic, it's epic, it is exactly what your wild imaginations can get up to, just like when you're reading a comic book. What X-Men 97, I think, asks all of us, what it pushes us towards is, what if we as people, consumers of art, what if we tried things that we didn't necessarily like, that might be uncomfortable to us? What if without all the popular faces and names and IP, what if we just go outside our comfort zone and give it a shot, give it a watch? If we give this a chance, maybe that'll convince studios and artists in general to try more things, to be weird with it, take a chance themselves, even if they themselves aren't 100% sure of it. And maybe, yeah, we won't love it. Maybe we'll even make fun of them. But they still shouldn't be afraid of that. They should be able to go forward and do exactly whatever it is they want. Just the same way I don't necessarily feel restricted in this medium because I'm doing whatever I want. No one is telling me what to do or how weird I can or can't be. And I think that's why you and me and everyone else love X-Men 97.